Okay, so let's go into determining what's important to you in a college. I don't want you to focus only on the ranks. Here's a worksheet that I'm opening up for you. It's going to ask you to go and look into the quality of education, the size, the climate, and so on, right? And although it's really easy to skip this and to just look at the overall rankings, I really suggest you do this at least once. It's worth your time because you want to know the location. Is it a city or do you need a car to get around? You want to know if it's freezing cold like it is in Boston, or are you going to get sunshine all the way around? You want to know, do they have a culture of maybe having sororities and parties, or are they more academic in nature? A few others that you might want to think about is size. So again, do you want to go to a school with 10,000 kids or 150,000 kids? What about the facilities? Is it a school that offers a lot of different resources or not? So if you look and go through this worksheet, you basically are going to be able to tell yourself what is important to you. And that way, when you're doing research, you will know, let me go look at the extracurriculars when I look at this college, because I've realized that means a lot to me. I'm Tina Chulette. I am the Blue Skies founder. Everything that I'm showing you today is something that has been tried and tested and worked on all the students I've worked with to date. Keep your ear to the ground and listen up to what we're going to go through here. The largest focus that people have is on the college rankings. So the reason why we have a single score is because we're trying to judge in between two things. So if you have an apple and an orange, it's hard to judge them unless you put them on a scale of 1 to 10, right? To know which is comparatively different than the other one. The problem is that these schools are very different, right? So if you have a private school with only 500 kids, 1,000 kids, and you have a public school that has 40,000 children, how do you really compare the two? Because they're completely different in their core characteristics, right? So that's one of the big challenges with these college rankings. But it is very useful to look at rankings to get a general sense of the landscape in the United States, right? So think of it more in terms of buckets of 10. So the first 5, then the next 10, then the next 10, then the next 10. Whether they go up and down a little is not that big of a deal, but it'll give you an idea of comparatively how many resources do they have, right? Now there's a school rank and a major rank, okay? So what we're seeing in US News, Forbes, and Niche are the school ranks, okay? So that's for the school overall. But separately, you have to think about your major. So let's say you're looking at computer science. So a computer science might have a better ranking in the overall school. You are more concerned with your major's rank because that indicates how many resources, professors, classes, and so on are going towards that major, right? So for example, you might see at Northwestern. Northwestern, for example, their overall school rank, I think, is number 10 or 15, but their Medill School of Journalism is number 1. Or Cornell right now is featuring as number 20 or so on US News, but again, their School of Hospitality is ranked number 1, right? So make sure you look at the major and don't only get stuck on the overall ranking of a school. There's something that's called the private and the public Ivies. So basically the Ivy Leagues came to be because they were a collegiate sports competition amongst these 8 schools. And these schools just naturally had a lot of ivy growing around the campus, and that's how it came to be. So people then started looking for other schools that comparatively have such strong education systems, resources, and so on. So Forbes coined 2 terms. One is the public Ivies, and the second is the private Ivies, okay? So both of these you will find offer great educations as well. Take a look at the schools that fall under both of these categories, but just keep in mind that you don't need to get stuck on Ivy League. You can look at a wide variety of schools. Public Ivies tend to cost less because they're funded by the government. Imagine that there's a public school giving you a similar education as an Ivy League school at 50% of the cost, right? Because I think that it's so important for you not to get stuck on the rankings, I do want to research 3 schools with you right now so you can get an idea. So the first school we're going to look into here is Rice University. It's ranked number 18. First, I have up here opened on my screen here their website. If you take a look, you can get an idea of different initiatives that they have. What is it like to go to their school? You can look at their blog. If you scroll down here, it gives you a good idea about the kinds of resources that are available there. I love Quora. So for example, I have searched, what is it like to study at Rice University, right? You can say there's no better word than magical, says Brian, right? Or if you scroll down, intense. You have available one of the widest selections of information in the US, take advantage of it, okay? So it gives you a good input. Then you can do something like do the opposite. So what are the biggest hassles or negatives of Rice University, okay? Here, Eric says, will admit that I'm passionate about the school, but most of my hassles are negligible. However, it does include these negatives, explaining what rice is to colleagues and friends on the East Coast, jokes about eating rice, the climate of Houston, right? So it will give you some inputs into what it's like to be there. I also like to look into the major. So how is Rice University's approach to engineering, right? Trey says, I can answer this. It's probably gonna be clear that you're fudging. The average Rice candidate is smarter than some of the best candidates for some of the other schools, right? So that gives you a good amount of information. So you'll get some ideas about what it's like to specifically go to the school, what are the positives, negatives, what is it like for that major, okay? You can also go to the major site. So this is again, engineering at Rice. They have their ranking highlights here. Awards, engineering majors, enrollment details, research and facilities, even where people go for their jobs. So there's a lot of information. Okay, so also you can go on YouTube, our favorite place, and you can check out, take a tour of Rice. So they're gonna basically walk through the campus, what it's like. You'll get a sense of what it feels like. There's a place called Unigo, U-N-I-G-O. So this has a lot of reviews that I think are pretty interesting from a student who says what it's like to go there. And then you can even see here how accessible are your professors, haven't met them, and 52% said they're always available. You might say, do students feel safe on campus? 65% said I feel safe, right? So there's a lot of information here that you won't find on their website that might be of interest to you, okay? And there's also something called Campus Reel that most people don't know about, which I think is a really good resource. So Campus Reel is basically going to have kids who are doing YouTube videos, but it's all on Campus Reel. So you can say day in the life with Maria at Rice University. So again, I know this is a lot of effort to do so much work for one school, but it just helps you really understand that school is great. Now, maybe you don't need to do this for the top 20 schools because you're already convinced that the facilities and all of that are amazing. But this definitely helps once you start reaching number 30 or 40 or 50 and you want to make sure that, you know, that school has enough to offer you. Okay, so we're going to speed it up now a little bit with the next few because you have an idea of what it is that you need to look for. Okay, so let's take a look at our second school. This is University of Maryland. It's ranked number 46. I just wanted to show you how schools in the top 50 are superb. So just gonna look at two things very quickly here. So here is their website, and if you look down, this is a picture of their campus. Now, not that you're going to be basing your decision on how beautiful it is, but you can see at the amount of resources that you get. Look at the infrastructure that's created for even the top 50 schools, right? If you scroll down, they are number 13 in public universities. They're number 4 for entrepreneurship, so that gives you an idea. If you go to Unigo, again, for University of Maryland, and go to the college reviews, how accessible are your professors? 76% say they have regular office hours, right? So that's pretty good. Are there intellectual conversations? 56% say that there are usually intelligent conversations to be had. So just keep in mind that even a school that maybe you haven't heard of is going to have phenomenal resources. Okay, so one more here we're gonna do. That's the University of Iowa, ranked 98 by US News. So again, I've come to this virtual tour that they have set up. Start the tour so you can see what kind of facilities that they have there and walk around the school as if you're really there. Again, you'll see that even a public school, number 100, is offering you tremendous opportunity and resources, facilities, right? You can go to here, the placement rates of the University of Iowa. You'll see that 98% of engineering students get placed. And look at the employers, CNN, Google, ACT, PricewaterhouseCoopers, IBM, NASA. So every company that's coming to your top schools is even going to school number 100. And that's what I keep talking about, that you should not only go on ranking, because there's a lot of phenomenal resources in the top 100 schools. So make sure you thoroughly explore all of it. Great, so that's it for how you do college research. The main thing is that don't get stuck on the rankings. They do help you understand the overall landscape of the United States, but it's important to know that the top 100 schools offer you phenomenal resources, so make sure you spend your time looking at them. As always, if you have any comments, please leave them at the bottom. And if you like this channel, please subscribe, and we will keep giving you tips and tricks.